Haribol Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa iti namine Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Haribol Namaste. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa iti namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa iti namine Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Gauranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana 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 Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Haribol Namaste. Good morning, everyone. First, let us offer our humble obeisances to our Gurudev, Jagad Guru Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Guru Karuna Sarupaya Radha Krishna Pistate. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Go Bhakta Vridam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol Namaste. This is the continuation of our study program regarding the teachings of Rupa Goswami. So I'll read again and reiterate the text one, the first mantra. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the action of anger, and the urge of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So one's spiritual life, one's progress towards the right direction, to be focused, to be situated, to be sheltered, to have a foundation in his connection, eternal connection with the Supreme Person is based upon the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Years back, my spiritual master, Jagad Guru Siddhaswarup, gave a story. This story is about Pinocchio. And when I was when my body was in years back, relatively young, I listened and read the story of Pinocchio. So when Srila Prabhupada narrated the story of Pinocchio, it's really interesting and amusing. But he gave an in-depth teaching about the reality of this world. And not only that, how one can become free from this entanglement. So the story goes like this. So there was this, it's based upon this material story of someone who is a puppet maker. He curves, make puppets out of wood. So he does not have a son. So in his heart, he longs to have a son. One day, the story goes like this. The fairy godmother gave him the opportunity to have a son. But because the teaching is based upon materialism, he has a son whose body is made out of wood. But also it's connected with how we identify ourselves. And we will go on that later. So he took care of Pinocchio, sent him to school, and not only that, when the fairy godmother gave him Pinocchio, he said that if you follow my advice, in the future, you will have a human form. And she gave him, Pinocchio, someone to accompany him, the cricket, always reminding him what to do. So his father sent him to school, he gives him, money to buy food. He has these clothes, uniform and a bag. And then he goes to school. While going to school, there are individuals there who are just also looking around and they bully individuals. And Pinocchio, being a good boy who can be bullied, they're always bullying him, asking money from him, making life hard for him. And then when he does something, the fairy godmother tells him that if you do something that is not wholesome, like lying, there will be symptoms that will manifest in your body. So whenever Pinocchio lies, his nose becomes longer. And then one day, what happened was, while going to school, he met this person who seems, he got his act together, He's very proud and he's longing for adventure, and I have heard that there is a place, the Wonderland, where they can just play, they can just
eat whatever they want, and there's festivities there, on and on. He have heard that story, and he will go to that place. So what happened was Pinocchio was enticed. What? We can go to Wonderland where we can enjoy and play, experience this unlimited sensual enjoyment? Yes. So while they're waiting, he followed that guy as his guide. But the cricket who reminds him, Pinocchio doesn't listen to that cricket. He tries to drive him away. Get up. Every time he does something that is in contradiction with the desire of the fairy godmother that will benefit him, he does not want to do it because his mind is desire driven. He's longing to taste that cotton candy, the giant lollipop, the Ferris wheel, and the music, the balloons, and he can just play with all his playmates in that wonderland, together with this guy who is guiding him. While they're waiting, then this chariot where a lot of donkeys are pulling this vehicle, because during that time there's no motor vehicle. So this wagon, and there's this guy who looks so mean with his beard, shouting to the donkeys, beating the donkeys with the whip. Go! And the guy said, here he comes, here he comes. We can now go to Wonderland and enjoy. So he followed that guy. But Pinocchio, looking at the donkeys being beaten, and this mean guy who's laughing, come, let's go to Wonderland. And he saw the donkeys pulling the wagon with tears dripping on their eyes. And they're very sad. They're all crying. Pinocchio's looking. How come they're all sad? And his friend said, let's go. Beat him on the back. Let's go. Don't waste time. Let's go. So they took that ride in the wagon to go to Wonderland. And when they're in Wonderland, wow, the festivities, everything is glittering, the music and everything. Pinocchio said, the guy's telling Pinocchio, it will blow your mind. Then, while that person is someone who accompanied him, who guided him to go to that festivities, to this wonderland, he's looking at the guy, and the guy started to lit a tobacco cigar. And Pinocchio, being a child, said, why are you doing that? Sabi niya, let's be, do our thing. So he lit that cigar. And he's able to produce these circles in arrogant. Pinocchio's looking, why don't you try? Pinocchio tried, and then when he tried, it's not nice. No, it's nice. Then Pinocchio begins to see the face of his friend. How come your ears are becoming, it's growing, it's becoming the ears, it's like the ears that the donkey has, all those donkeys who have these ears, how come your ears have become like those? What? And then when Pinocchio look at his face, how come your teeth is becoming like the teeth of the donkey? And then the guy laughed, you also look like a donkey. And then Pinocchio touched his ears. Oh, how come I have donkey ears? And then when he look at your teeth, you have donkey teeth. And the guy begins to, while Pinocchio's talking to the guy begins to, me. He speaks the language of the donkey. And Pinocchio said, what's happening? Then he began to recall all those donkeys pulling the cart, tears in their eyes. He became alarmed. And then comes this person, because during the time when they arrived in this wonderland, they were able to eat all the things they long. The lollipop, giant lollipop, the sweet cotton candy with different flavors, and all those kids enjoying, so passionate. Now, he looks back and this guy is holding something. He's holding a lasso to catch them. The first person whom that mean guy caught is his friend and pulled him while his body is transforming into the body of a donkey. And Pinocchio ran and ran and ran. He has donkey ears and he cannot talk like a human being. He said, oh, me. Then he ran and the guy tried to catch him. And then there's this abyss, then there's this ocean. He jumped to be saved. So, the bona fide spiritual master is able to, he's so wonderful that he can give analogies and example, even though it's a material story, he's able to give us what's happening to all of us. So the spiritual master is very grave. He's very grave, very serious. So when the disciple, the students come in contact with him, he's very serious because he knows the situation. So I'll read here what can guide us. Just like our eternal spiritual master is the Supreme Person, Lord Krsna. And our eternal spiritual master is our dear Gurudev, Jagad Guru Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, who is the dearmost disciple of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, who's coming in the long line of confidential, loving servants of the Supreme Person, the maid servants of Radha and Krishna. They are encouraging us, guiding us, because we're blind, as what we have discussed previously. We're blind, we cannot really see. So the blind cannot lead another blind. So our spiritual master gives us a process to purify our mind, to get us out from this quagmire, this encumberment. So I'll read a verse here, how the spiritual master, whose description is being described here in the first mantra of the Nectar of Instruction. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the action of anger and urges of the tongue, belly and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So when Sage Prabuddha was discussing with King Nimi, he's telling us we must not accept someone who is conditioned, whose character is doubtful. We must be guided by the descending method coming from Parampara, from Lord Krishna, not this ascending method wherein we try to reach God through our imperfect senses. So I'll read here a verse from Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and it's connected of how we can be guided, of how Pinocchio supposedly can be guided us. Lord Krishna tells us, a man must elevate himself by his own mind, not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So, this gross body, we are covered by this gross body. We have this mind we can see that nobody sees except us. We can see the desire. Watch the desire in the mind. The mind can be our friend. The mind can be our enemy. So Lord Krishna is telling us we must use the mind to elevate ourselves, not degrade us from being engrossed in this material world, by following someone who is free, who can guide us to this jungle of material life. Just like one time we were discussing about this green hell, this jungle, that it's very hard to cross the jungle because when you're blind, you cannot cross the jungle. But there's a guide who can hold your hands, who can put us in this boat. And instead of traversing the jungle, he can go by the river that long beyond our senses. It's so complex, this river, and guide us to traverse this jungle. So that's the spiritual master. And in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual master gives us why we are entangled in this world. That's why the first basic transcendental realization that someone who is a bona fide spiritual master is that he must have completely understood the truth. And that is the basic is he is completely in transcendental realization of his true identity as eternally the loving servant of God. And he gives us this process wherein we can purify the mind. And he gives us a system, a science, the science of how we become entangled and we can become free and we can use the mind to become our friend, not our enemy, to degrade us. The mind becomes our friend. How? First of all, I'll reiterate the teachings in Bhagavad Gita, how we become entangled. From sense perception, one begins to contemplate on the objects of the senses. Sense perception. So it's very vital to understand what we should perceive. The person is the perceiver, us. We perceive through the senses. We look through the eyes. It's not the eye seeing you. It's me looking through the eye seeing your body. It's me listening through the ear, listening to the sound. So how can we become elevated? We must become elevated and be able to make our mind the friend, not our enemy. From sense perception, one begins to contemplate And when one is under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, he follows the purificatory process that is being given. It is the holy names of God, the supreme purifier. It's like when our hands are dirty with mud and grime, water is the purifying agent. It's not like what we see in cowboy movies in the Western. I used to watch Western movies. Whenever they have a duel, their hands are dirty. What they do is spit on their hand, and then they have this duel to kill one another. The process is not like that. The process, if your hands are dirty, you wash with water, antiseptic, it becomes purified. Just like I got cut while I was cutting using the bolo, I have this cut. So how can I know that bacteria is there, it will get infected, but I cannot spit on the cut. No? Muddle it with bacteria and dirty things because it will get infected. I use this cleansing agent, wash it with water, put antiseptic, put betadine, and cover it. A man must elevate himself by his own mind, not degrade himself. So it's connected with our sense perception because we are the perceiver. So now we're given this opportunity to perceive this purificatory process, this source of everything, this joy and happiness we're seeking. It's God, the Supreme Person. And how can we perceive it? Through this descending method. And Lord Chaitanya, who is the perfect teacher, the Supreme Person, our Gurudev, gives us the holy names. So when we chant the holy names of Lord Krishna, it purifies our heart. It purifies the mind. The mind becomes sober, pacified, because the heart becomes satiated. So what influences a person to be entangled in this world? It's connected with material consideration. And what are those material considerations? It is the influence of the three modes of material nature, especially passion. One time my friend was telling me, if you see my daughter, she's really beautiful, But if you see his wife, my daughter she falls far short. I said, what beauty do you see? The form? So in the Vedas, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, is telling us that when we're in ignorance, our perception of happiness, of what we want to be connected with real happiness and fulfillment is based upon these forms of this world. And the body is made out of different material elements. But AC, His Divine Grace, is telling us it's made out of bile, mucus, urine, stool. And when this great Vaishnava, the dear friend of our Gurudev, who was here, who gave us his presence, he left already. But when he was here, he gave a lecture about the reality of this world. And what is that reality? He tells us that if the sadhu comes and he goes to this girly bar and everybody is watching these forms dancing on the dancing pole and everybody looking with their eyes, perceiving through their eyes, in ignorance, in passion, the mind has become their enemy because they're looking upon something that is temporary. And he tells us, if a sadhu comes and open the light, hey, you guys, you're looking at that breast and you're thinking you can be happy with it, and he brings a cut breast from the mortuary, dripping with blood. This is what you're trying to look at and meditate. Look, the blood, the veins. And not only that, you're using your body, perceiving through the senses, wanting to touch with your mind. But the venue or the medium you're trying to use to enjoy it is not you. You are not the body. That even though you embrace that, you hold that breast, it's not you who will experience. It's only this illusion, this mental concoction that you have become allured because of the influence of passion. So it's very important what we should perceive, what we contemplate, what we focus, what we meditate upon. My Gurudev was telling me, a certain activity leads to a certain consciousness, and a certain consciousness leads to a certain activity. So when a person comes in contact with the spiritual master, he's given that opportunity to take this teaching, apply it in his life. So the mind can become his friend. And that friendship is based upon doing what is pleasing to God, not upon following the dictates of the mind and the senses. That's why the spiritual master, who is a Goswami, master of his senses, he tells us how we can become a Goswami also, master of our senses. By meditating upon the all-purifying Supreme Person, especially the guidance and teachings of our spiritual master, which is transcendental and eternal. He loves us. It's based upon love. So Pinocchio is so immersed in this material world. So his activities put him in he was put in a precarious situation wherein he's always anxious, and the guy there trying to catch him, he does not want to become a donkey. So now the question is this. We have this human form. Are we going to use this human form so we can become free from this suffering, free from this load of trying to fulfill what we're longing for in this temporary material dimension? It comes when we are in illusion and we follow the dictates of the mind. The science of being a Goswami, this science means we must meditate upon the Supreme Purifier, and the Supreme Purifier is the holy names of God, not different from God. It is manifesting, coming down. The more we the more we wash our hands, the more it becomes purified. The more we chant the names of the Supreme Person, the more we follow the teachings and understand it and apply it in our lives. Then, the mind becomes our friend. It's so sad that after hearing the truth, we still continue to try to find happiness where there is none. So, we are advised to have association of someone who is bona fide spiritual master, who is the dearmost friend of Lord Krsna. You know, if we are not serious, this is a very serious situation wherein we are in. We're suffering from birth, death, disease, and knowledge. But Wow, it's cool for us, When we are under the influence of the mind, under the modes of material nature, especially passion, we will be desire driven. We see this world, we search for fulfillment and try to fulfill this unlimited craving in the wrong direction. That's why the first step in the right direction is being given to us by His Divine Grace, Rupa Goswami, our Gurudev, the sadhu in the line of disciplic succession who loves us. So if we want to become free, we follow that process. Or else, we suffer. Because we are cut off from the source of happiness. Because now, we are trying, when a person is desire-driven in contemplation of this world, he thinks he'll be happy by following the dictates of the mind and trying to fulfill what he's longing for through the senses, with the sense object that he sees, either in the form of a beautiful woman or in trying to satisfy his senses. The sense of touch, the sense of hearing, the sense of perception, the sense of feeling. No, the spiritual master is someone who can control the urge of anger. We are all angry. Anger doesn't mean you just curse. Anger means when we are desire-driven, we try to fulfill this unlimited longing for happiness and fulfillment through the senses. And it is manifested by how we use this body and what comes out of our mouth and how we act. So the spiritual master loves us so much. He's the guide. One time I was with a friend, one of my friend. She's so anxious because we are having this program. She is so anxious that she's telling us, you cannot engage someone in the service of Krishna according to her sense perception. But we're all blind. So when the spiritual master comes, he gives us his holy names. He gives us the process of sadhana bhakti, devotional service in practice. We are not walking for that person. We're giving, you see someone who cannot walk, you hold his hand. Someone who's very sick, he needs to have medication. So you give him the opportunity to take part, not to walk for him. We do know and understand, we cannot walk for someone. We cannot engage a person in devotional service because he himself or she himself should be the one to partake, to follow the process. But as followers of Lord Chaitanya and our spiritual master, we can facilitate. I was wondering why she's so anxious. If a person is blind, you can see, you hold his hands. He's walking blind, you hold him. Hey brother, hey sister, follow me. This is an opportunity for you. So you can see by listening, take this medicine. You're not walking for that person, you're facilitating that person. I was wondering how come she's anxious and she's so adamant in anxiety. No, you cannot engage people in devotional service. But we can facilitate them. So what is the instruction of our Gurudev? What is the instruction of Lord Chaitanya? By my command, be Guru, not play Guru and dominate others, have followers, and show how we are so pure than them. Sanctimoniously feeling purer than anybody. Being a saintly person, I can guide you. No. He feels in his heart, I've been given this gift. I know I'm not qualified, but my spiritual loves me so much. Krishna loves me so much. And if I share this to my friend who is blind and invite him to the Sankirtan movement, even though he cannot hear. But the transcendental holy names can pierce through his ears as a funnel and enter his heart. We're not making an effort for him. We cannot walk for him. And there's this another person. He's telling us, why are you doing Guru Puj? Why are you? It's a very serious matter. He's anxious. Why we are doing Guru Puj? But Lord Krishna is telling us, just surrender to my devotee. Follow him. And simply looking at the form of the spiritual master, one becomes purified, especially when we listen to his teachings, because the spiritual master is glorified by Lord Krishna. He's the dearmost friend, and if we follow him, we simply bow down to him, follow his instruction in humility and humbleness. Krishna becomes pleased. It's a word of love. If you love someone who I love so much, but I'm wondering, how come they're in so much anxiety? How come you're worshiping the spiritual master? And I said, if I follow you, and I won't follow you, because if I follow you, I'll be putting your picture on the Vyasasan. But I will not do that, because I will follow the instruction of Rupa Goswami. Because through the teachings of our spiritual master, so many individuals who were given that opportunity to make their mind their friend, that the situation is very grave and serious. Some who do voodoo, a crazy person comes looking. If you look at him, he came from India with long hair. And everybody looks at him as a sadhu. And he's teaching something different from scripture. He's not teaching the teachings that will free us, but rather he's telling us, you know what? You don't need to follow parampara. You don't need to follow the bona fide spiritual man. You can achieve the highest goal by just imagining, by becoming, thinking that you're there already. This sahajiya, these people who are foolish, who are misleading people. And in that case, during the time, initiated disciples of the spiritual master begins to follow him. They neglect their spiritual master teaching. But one day, they were walking, doing their japa, and they saw this sahaji, this person posing as a spiritual master, who's telling everybody else, no need to follow the parampara, no need to follow authority. I am the authority. I am on top of the shit pile, the top dog. Then he's walking with these beautiful girls holding hands. So immediately, those students, those disciples saw it. Wow, the person whom we are following, his character is doubtful. But if we simply listen and follow the instruction of our spiritual master, we will become free and be purified from this misconception, because now we have a basis for our understanding that is eternal. So back to the point when this person was in anxiety, that how come you cannot engage a person in devotional service, but we can facilitate, because Lord Chaitanya opens that door. Everybody in this material world is hungry and famished with happiness and everything. It's like a baker who opens that door, this pastry house, and invites everybody. And those individuals who ate sumptuously in this bakery, they can bring that food out and distribute it. They can distribute the holy names. They can distribute and combats individuals who are lost, who are blind in this material world. And that is very pleasing to our Gurudev. So the sign that the person is making progress, he is compassionate. And what will drive a person to engage in austerity and sacrifice? It is his compassion. Because by chanting the holy names of God, one becomes affectionate towards the Supreme Person, and he has a foundation of what he will do. It is to please his loved one. That world of love, that is sustainable. So I'll read again. There's so many things that we can discuss, but our time's running short already. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the action of anger, and the urge of the tongue, belly, genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. I'll recap it. We are not this physical body. The mind, we're covered by the reason we have this body because of the mind. And in the mind, the desires are there. Through sense perception, when we are in ignorance of our true identity, we identify with the mind. And our goal is to satisfy and follow the desire. We become desire-driven. So we may become free from that. And the process is the process that is given to us, the descending method of Harinama. So when we chant, the mind becomes our friend. We begin to see. The person who is blind, he begins to see. And what is that seeing? What is based upon? It is based upon the teachings of wisdom, Satchit, wisdom, eternal wisdom, that is the Vedic wisdom coming from God. So I'll give you a verse that Srila Prabhupada used to read to us so we can be guided. We have a foundation for our true identity in parallel with this, what is teaching. In the Sri Upanishad, there is a guide for all of us how we can become free. In the first mantra, everything animate or inanimate that is within this universe is owned and controlled by God. Everything belongs to God, living or non-living. So one should only use the quota that is allotted to him. So the Supreme Person is taking care of us. Everything belongs to him. We are not the owner. What we have in our situation now is a temporary possession of this body. Now, what we should do now is that we can use this body as a medium to purify ourselves. We can use the tongue to chant. We can use the ear to listen. We can use the eyes to see the devotee of God, listens to his teaching, and put ourselves under his lotus feet, meaning his instruction. So no need to be in anxiety that the Vaishnavas, the devotees, the followers of Lord Chaitanya are worshipping their Guru, who is the dearmost friend of Lord Krishna. No need to worry about, oh, Guru Puja is a serious matter. It should be for serious people. No need to worry. Because the Supreme Person, Krishna, the spiritual master, is like the sun. The sun distributes its rays to everyone. It's like the rain cloud. It rains everywhere. Just like 2 days ago, it rained in our place, the whole place. The rain does not distinguish between dry land, ocean, wetland, stony place, desert. It rains, distribute. So no need to worry. We should not try to use our teeny-weeny brain. We're so insignificant to put God in the box of our mind. But we can receive these holy names of God that touches our heart. So now we can remember. We can be guided. Even though our spiritual master physically is very far, but the teachings that He gave us about this truth is eternal, and it's connected with God, the Lord within the heart. So if the mind becomes our friend, we can listen to the Lord within the heart. We will not be desire-driven to follow the dictates of the mind. We become sober. And Lord Krishna, who loves us so much, He gives us assurance. No worry. He tells us, one who worship me, giving up all his activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, who speaks his mind upon me, O son of Pirta, for him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So now, a process for the mind to become our friend, to free us. We have to take it. We have to follow the path. So, thank you very much. I like to sing a song that our Guru Dev used to sing, and he gave that to us. Can I borrow the guitar, Richard? Hindi ako lang. Kaya man. Mag-pluck lang ako. Thank you very much for participating in our program. Thank you very much for those who organized this program, because I'm given the opportunity to remember and hear what my Guru Dev has taught us years back. This song is our inspiration. It's written by His Divine Grace, Jagad Guru Siddhaswarup. It's connected with the loving service, the sweetness of being sheltered by the Supreme Person. Rest peacefully, spirit, soul. I know there's nowhere to go. Don't you worry, your Lord's in control. Rest peacefully, spirit, soul. I know that a long, long road. Just remember your spirit, soul. Worldly pain come and go. It's just a fading, passing show. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rest peacefully, sweet soul. The Lord will protect you. He's in full control. Rest peacefully, it's all part of His plan. Don't you be afraid, you're in His hand.
Let's have a short chant before we part.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa iti namine. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarup Ananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda, Ananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda, Ananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda, Ananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Haribol, Namaste. Thank you very much for taking part. And we also thank the organizer of this program because it gives us the opportunity to glorify the Supreme Person, to be connected with the heart, the desire of our Gurudev. Haribol, Namaste. Thank you very much.